suvetunne on tagasi. Türgi, Kreeka, Bulgaaria. Valik on sinu. Parimad hinnad, lai hotellivalik. Testuur garanteerib puhkuse, mis jääb meelde. Broneeri juba täna ja kindlusta endale suve parim reisielamus.
Tere kõigile Elustiili saade TV3-s, mina olen Mark-Anatoli Ein. Käib uus hooaeg ja koos testuriga me reisime kogu maailmas ja praegu oleme Egiptuses Hurghadasse. Vaatame, mis siin toimub ja kindlasti koos teiega naudime rannapuhkust, merd ja päikest. Alustame kohe praegu. Aga praegu on meiega koos Sunrise hotellide esindaja Alona. Tere, hello!
Tere Mark, tere everyone! Welcome to Egypt!
First of all, why Hurghada is so popular destination?
Well, Egypt is really very popular destination. First of all, we have summer here all the year round. So 12 months per year we have a sunny weather. Then Egypt is really famous because it has the best sea in the world. So it's the best location if you want to try snorkeling or diving. Also, Hurghada is a very popular family destination because of its sandy beaches and shallow sandy entrance to the sea. So there are a lot of resorts which are offering kids facilities like aqua park and kids club. So it's really very famous, you're right.
Let's talk about Sunrise Hotel.
Sunrise, we are one of the biggest hotel chains in Egypt. We are more than 20 resorts, and now we are in one of our hotels. It calls Sunrise Crystal Bay, and we have a surprise for you, Mark. That will be not the only hotel you will stay in. We will prepare for you another resort, so you will try 2 hotels from our hotel chain during your vacation.
So tell me the secrets, how to make your decision where to stay.
Oh, that's really complicated because, for example, in Sunrise we have really different hotels. We have family resorts with aqua parks, we have clubbing hotels, adults only, we have relaxing resorts, 16 plus, so it's a huge variety, and I think it's better to ask test tour so they can help you to find your perfect hotel for your perfect stay.
What you would like to wish to our audience?
Please come to Egypt to enjoy the sunny weather, to enjoy the amazing underwater world of the Red Sea, to enjoy the family facilities with water slides and kids clubs, and of course you have to come to try Sunrise and to try our Posh Club system. It's a system of privileges for those guests who are choosing suites, high room categories. If you come here and you will try Posh Club, I'm sure definitely it will be an amazing and unforgettable experience. So I wish to see you here.
Reisime koos testuriga ja praegu oleme Hurghadas. Päike paistab ja see on 5-staari hotell Sunrise Crystal Bay. Aga meiega koos hotelli esindaja Catherine. Hello and nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you. Welcome to Crystal Bay.
Thank you. First of all, what kind of atmosphere here?
So the atmosphere here in Egypt, obviously we have a beautiful sunshine all year round. We have the gorgeous Red Sea, which is perfect for snorkeling. And we have the desert, of course, which is great for safaris and visiting Bedouin tents also during your stay. The hotel here, we have a beautiful green landscape, lots of space. We have a gorgeous beach lagoon, which is perfect for relaxing, swimming, and we also have a lot of pool space around the hotels and lots of facilities and activities that guests can enjoy during their stay. So we have 364 rooms with 15 different room categories. So we have a lot of options for everybody. So if you're traveling as a couple, as a family, as a friend's holiday, you can find a room definitely that will suit your group.
Let's go and check.
Let's see.
Sunrise Crystal Bay Hotel, and it's right time to talk about rooms.
Yes, let's talk about rooms. So starting from superior and deluxe rooms, these are the smaller rooms that we have in the hotel. They're located near the main building of the resort, and they have a pool and a garden view. As we move further down towards the resort, we have junior suites and family suites. These are great for families with small children or a group of 4 adults, for example, as they have a separate living room and a master bedroom. Moving on from there, we have our Posh Club suites. So we have some gorgeous swim-ups, family swim-ups, deluxe swim-ups for also couples. And then we have a pool suites, which we're in now. And we also have jacuzzi suites, which are just upstairs.
So I can leave my luggage here, Catherine?
Of course you can leave your luggage here. Our butler is going to take care of everything. He's going to unpack your suitcase, and we're going to go and take a walk around the hotel. We're going to see the pool, the beach, all the wellness facilities that we have to offer here.
And now we are at the heart of the hotel.
So here we are at our active pool with lots of activities here that take place. So like aqua gym, water aerobics, also different games such as water polo. We also have some amazing aqua boards where they float in the pool, and you can do like yoga and different challenges from these boards, which is very cool. Also in the middle of the hotel we have our adults only pool, our kids pool, and also a jacuzzi pool.
Catherine, you know that I'm a big fan of sports.
Yes, I heard you're a big fan of sports. So we have a great activity program here in the hotel. We have a fitness instructor which is here 6 days a week, and he offers lots of different fitness activities such as aerial yoga, HIIT sessions, also aerobics and Zumba, all of these kind of activities. We also have a gym which is available free of charge, and tennis courts, and also a football pitch.
And now it's my favorite part, gastronomic.
Yes, let's talk about that. So here we are in our Yadis restaurant. This gorgeous restaurant is available for breakfast, lunch and dinner. So in total we have 7 restaurants in the hotel. So we have a la carte restaurants which include Indian, Mediterranean, the Greek restaurant where we are now, Mangal barbecue restaurant, and also Dalila, which is our Egyptian restaurant, and also Faluka, which is seafood. This is the only chargeable restaurant. All of the a la carte restaurants can be booked via our application or through the touchscreen in the lobby. After dinner, you can enjoy a delicious cocktail at one of our bars, and we also have some parties during the week, live music, live singers, some acrobatic shows, dance shows, something to amaze everybody.
What you would like to wish to Estonia audience?
So I wish to your Estonian audience, we hope to welcome you soon to Crystal Bay and to Egypt, and we hope to see you soon. Ciao, ciao.
And stay with us on TV3. Elustiili saade ja meie reis Hurghadasse koos Testuriga jätkub, aga praegu on meiega koos Testuri esindaja armas Trin, tšau!
Tšau Mark ja tere armsad televaatajad. Mark, kuidas sulle meeldib Sunrise Crystal Bay hotell?
No mulle väga meeldib selline 5 staari hotell, teeline luks ja teeline luksuslik stiil. Milline üldse siin õhkkond ja tunne?
Õhkkond ja tunne on siin ikka kuum ja soe. Soe kliima, soe punane meri, ootavad teid siin koha peal alati. Ja tõesti, teile on valmis pandud testuri poolt päris põnev programm. Meil on teiega plaanis päevane linnaekskursioon, mis on äärmiselt populaarne. Meie testuri klientidele on see ka tasuta. Ja programm näeb välja järgmiselt, et me külastame siis kaunist Hurghada marinat, jahisadamat. Ja seejärel külastame ka kohalikku mošeed ehk Elmina mošeed, tutvume lähemalt ka kohaliku religiooniga. Ja siis ootab teid ees juba shoppingu pool. Kellele ei meeldiks shopata, meile kõigile ju meeldib.
Aga ma kindlasti tean, et see pole veel kõik, et õhtul meid ootab väike üllatus.
Absoluutselt, teil on valmis pandud luksuslik üllatus Salhashisi piirkonnas, külastame Salhashisi ja seejärel on teile pandud seikluslik kirstordil nimega siis kõrbesafari ootab teid.
Miks üldse Egiptus ja Hurghada on nii populaarne?
Hurghada ja Egiptus on tõesti väga populaarne sihtpunkt ja ilmselt ongi see populaarne sellepärast, et siia toimuvad väga mugavad otselennud. Testur lendab koos Air Balticuga, kiired ja mugavad lennud ja alati soe punane meri, soe kliima ootavad teid siin. Ja muidugi ka Egiptuse suur ajalugu ja kultuur.
Aga kuidas üldse ette valmistada, kas testur abistab?
Muidugi abistab, et testuri reisikonsultandid aitavad teil valida välja väga head hotellid ja seejärel ootavad teid seiklusrohked ekskursiooniprogrammid. Osad ekskursioonid on meil ka eesti keeles, et ongi linnaekskursioon näiteks, mis kestab umbes 3-4 tundi ja siis on meil ka suur ajalooreis eesti keeles Luxor, kus saame tutvuda lähemalt juba hauakambritega ja ka siis imeilusa Karnaki templiga.
Kas ekskursioon sobib kõikidele?
Absoluutselt sobib kõikidele, et nii väikestest kui juba suurteni on alati oodatud siia.
Aga kuidas valida kõige parem hotell?
Kuidas valida kõige parem hotell? Ikka vastavalt siis eelarvele, et Hurghada pakub siis vastavalt eelarvele erinevad hotellide valikuid ja seda siis juba välja selgitada testuri reisikonsultantidega, kes on siis teadlikud, mis hotell teile kõige paremini sobiks.
Varsti meid ootab tõeline seiklus ja me kohtume veel kord kindlasti sinuga. Aga ennem tahaks teada sinu soovid kogu Eestile.
Minu soovid kogu Eesti rahvale on, et reisige targalt ja reisige seiklusrohkelt. Ootame teid siin.
Ja reisige koos testuriga ja olge meiega koos TV3. Elustiili saade jätkub, me oleme Hurghadas, Egiptuses ja see pole veel kõik, mis me saime teile näidata. Praegu me teeme ühe stiilse pausi, olge meiega koos ikka TV3-s.
Suvetunne on tagasi. Türgi, Kreeka, Bulgaaria. Valik on sinu. Parimad hinnad, lai hotellivalik. Testur garanteerib puhkuse, mis jääb meelde. Broneeri juba täna ja kindlusta endale suve parim reisielamus.
Nagu te teate, me reisime kogu maailmas ja siin Hurghadas varsti saame teada, millised päikeseprillid ja prilliraamed on moes uuel HOOAEG koos instrumentaariumiga. Reisil räägin alati stiilist ja moest ning aegsasti panen end reisiks valmis. Moekaid ja stiilsed riided kui kõige tähtsamad on aksessuaarid. Moodne kohver ja päikeseprillid valin instrumentaariumi esinduses. Nagu te teate, trendid muutuvad, aga klassikaline suund on alati moes. Massiivse kujuga, plastikklaasidega ja tumedavad päikeseprillid. See on ideaalne valik reisimiseks. Päikeseprillid uuel hooajal muutunud väga nurgeliseks. Igapäevaselt ja ka tööpäevaks valige elegantne nurgeline vorm. See on viimaste hooaegade üks peamisi moesundi. Uus hooaeg, need on ärksad värvid nii igaks päevaks kui reisidele. Sellised valikud sobivad kõigile, kes soovivad katkestada ja lisada oma garderoobi aktsenti. Aga peamiseks trendiks, mis teile alati sobib, on mitmesugused erinevad tooted erinevatelt kaubamärkidelt. Kokkuvõtteks on moes ärksad värvid, geomeetriline mäng ja mida rohkem, seda parem. Aga meie reis jätkub koos instrumentaariumiga. Mida rohkem, seda parem. Meie uskumatu reis Hurghadasse koos teisturiga jätkub ja see pole veel kõik. Ja järgmine peatus on 5-staari hotell Sunrise Tucana Grand Select. Nagu alati, vaatame, mis siin toimub. Naudime päikest ja rannapuhkust ja kohe meid ootab hotelli esindaja. Aga praegu on meiega koos hotelli esindaja, Mr. Ahmed. Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Mark, and everybody. Hi, welcome. We are providing all luxury rooms with a spacious designs, push club facilities, which is one of the also unique things in Tucana. Sandy beach, nice pool and atmosphere here in the pool, relaxing mood as you can see, best food and best service. Then you have all the best of we can introduce and satisfy our guests. This is about our atmosphere and our hotel introduction.
Sun is shining, we have holidays, and it's right time to talk about what kinds of different rooms you have here.
Welcome back again. Here, if we need to speak about the rooms, still Tucana, one of the remarkable resorts with its room types. We have a lot of room types here. We start with the base room, which is the superior room. Superior room is which accommodates a couple, normal couple. Then if a couple with one child, for example, they can enjoy the deluxe room facilities with extra sofa bed. If we have a families, for example, starting 2 adult plus 2 child, we can start with the next category, which is a junior garden suite, ground floor room, suite with private garden for it and relaxing outside. This is for the family. If you interest a little bit of the luxuries, you can move ahead to the push club categories. It started with the swim up suite, which you saw. This is with a long path swim. It's only privately for you, but sharing with the other. All of these are ready to welcome and to enjoy our guests. For example, if we are a couple, I do recommend the swim-up suites, that you have your private pools. Not private, we can say, but it's a little bit a privacy, giving you more privacy, you and your couple. If you are a family, you can book the junior garden suite or one of the luxury suites here of the Bush Club.
And I also know that you have so many different activities here.
Yes, although Tucana is one of the relaxing mood hotel with a soft entertainment style, but you can enjoy yourself. During the day, you can enjoy stretching, yoga, aqua aerobic, water aerobic, darts, zumba, volleyball, and a lot of nice activities. You will enjoy, and if you need a very calm and quiet night, also you have daily live singers around you.
and the next stop is Posh Club.
Posh Club. Posh Club is the hotspot of the hotel, one of the best highlights of Tucana Resort, with its unique style, unique rooms, unique menu, rich menu, lounge for relaxing and rest, with premium services. Premium services starting from the airport. We got collect and pick our guests special and privately from the airport till the hotel. Same on the departure. Then guests enjoying here the nice atmosphere, the relaxing mood. You have a private butler bringing you your drinks in your sunbed here inside. You have a lot of extra facilities here. And in Posh Club here also you have premium products of everything, with a special restaurant, especially for only Posh Club guests, a special lounge only Posh Club guests, even this adults only swimming pool, and it's also for Posh Club guests only. This is about the Posh Club.
And if we talk about gastronomic, I know that you have so many different restaurants.
Restaurants here are different. You have a very good selection and variety, including one international restaurant, a special Italian restaurant, Greek restaurant, and Posh Club restaurant here. First of all, we are thanking you of interesting in our Tucana Resort and in Sunrise Resorts Group, as well in Egypt. Here, we know that really we love the people, and we are hospitable, and we are looking forward to welcome the Estonian people here in our Sunrise Group and in Tucana especially, enjoying with us our hospitality, our experience. And I thank you all for presenting Tucana Resort, and we hope to see the Estonian people here with much numbers, and I promise that you will enjoy. I promise that you will enjoy.
So thank you very much for interview and stay with us on TV3 Life Estonia. Elustiili saade ja meie Egiptuse reis Hurghadasse jätkub, aga praegu meid ootab tõeline seiklus meie kirstordil. Elustiili saade jätkub ja meie reis Hurghadasse koos teisturiga. Praegu on meiega koos uuesti Triin, tšau!
Tšau Mark ja tere taas armsad televaatajad. Sel hetkel me olemegi jõudnud siis imeilusasse ja võimsasse Araabia kõrbe. Ja siin mul on teile siis soov tutvustada imelisi vaateid, mägede vaateid. Ja jõuamegi välja siis Beduiini külla, kus ootavad meid juba kaamlid. Teeme sõiduga kaamlitega. Tutvume lähemalt Beduiini kohaliku eluga. Ja seejärel teeme veel sõidu ATV-de ja pagidega. Ja siis ootab meid ees juba tõeline show-programm.
Esimene peatus, kus me praegu oleme sinuga?
No olemegi jõudnud siis džiibiga sõidule ja teemegi siis mõnusa ralli ja ekstreemsõidu otse Beduiini külla.
Elustiili saade jätkub ja järgmine peatus on Beduiini küla.
Meid ees ootab põnev sõit kaamlitega, ilus mäestik ja samuti ootavad meid siis tutvumine lähemalt juba Beduiini külaga ja Beduiini eluga. Ja seda ma tutvustangi teile järgmisena. Kaameliga me sõidame kusagil 15 minutit, 15-20 minutit ja seejärel on edasi juba tutvumine Beduiini külaga ja siis ootab meid ees veel ATV-sõit, pagisõit ja õhtune show-programm. No nii, Mark, kuidas sulle siiani meeldinud on?
See on nagu uskumatu seiklus, tahaks veel ja veel, aga varsti juba läheb pimedaks ja meil ootab programm ja õhtusöök.
Just täpselt, õhtu ei ole meil veel läbi. Meid ootab ees siis kohalik tantsushow ja tulede programm, samuti ka siis õhtusöök siin Beduiini külas.
No, nagu meile meeldib, me tantsime ja pidutseme kõik koos, aga tahaks teada, milline on tõeline maagia siin Egiptuses?
Tõesti, maagiat ja saladusi on siin Egiptuses väga palju. Seetõttu igaüks teist tulekski siia otsima tulla oma enda 1001 öö muinasjuttu.
Ja kindlasti reisige koos teisturiga.
Ootame teid siin.
Koos testuuriga me reisime kogu maailmas ja avastame uusi horisonte, aga täna see on kõik, mis me saime teile näidata. Jälgige meie Instagrami ja YouTube kanalit ja veel infot te leiate Lifestyle Baltic uues ajakirjas. Teiega oli Mark-Anatoli Ein. Näeme juba järgmisel nädalal TV3 Elustiili saates.